Welcome. It's the Matic. It's the illest blurred in the land. Welcome back to Ill Blur Matic. Welcome back, legends. Thank you so much for commenting, liking, subscribing. Let's get into today's new video. Today's new video is on Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 1 movie review. So, the first thing I gotta say about this movie, the voice acting was solid. All right. Each character did a really good job with the voice acting. They felt like they're comic book characters from the comics of DC. Superman felt like Superman. Wonder Woman felt like Wonder Woman. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much Amazo felt like Amazo. Lex Luthor felt like Lex Luthor. Batman felt like Batman. I think Jennison is growing on me. He's starting to become my new favorite Batman voice actor after the late great Kevin Conroy. The Flash felt like the Flash. Iris felt like Iris West. Dick Grayson felt like Dick Grayson. The casting just was spectacular. Even Spectrum and Anti-Monitor, that really worked out. Now, let's get into the other thing that I liked about this movie. This movie, main character is really the Flash. If you really think about it, it's the Flash because it starts off with the Flash. It's him going to these alternate realities to see what is going on in these realities. And we see Barry trying to figure out why these time jumps are happening. And pretty much in these time jumps, he's seeing different alternate realities. We see a reality where Batman has Dick Grayson with him. We see a reality where him and Iris West grow old together, even get married. There is even a reality where heroes are no longer heroes. They are considered villains, and they're pretty much the government. The time skipping was a bit odd. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It was a bit odd, but it worked for the movie. So, that was something that was kind of a bit of a risk when I think about it. I said, interesting, very interesting. Now, the next thing that I liked about this movie is the animation. The animation looked really good. I like this new style of animation for the last maybe 4-5 DC animated movies that have been coming out. I just like the animation. The animation looks really good. It doesn't look super cartoonish like, and that's okay. I'm not like, oh man, y'all need to go back to the other style of it. That was cool. I did like the action in this movie with Lex Luthor and also Amazo, and the team up between them it was a really cool concept. And I like that Amazo kind of had this superior complex being artificial AI when it comes down to it, but also we learned the origin story of his creator that's on his deathbed pretty much, and him being tricked by Lex Luthor and also being a prisoner of Lex Luthor, by the way. And I like Lex Luthor's angle. He's a deceiving con like he usually is with Superman. And Amazo stealing these heroes' powers that do have powers. I like that we saw also in this movie how the Justice League Hawk came to be. We also saw how some worlds weren't always pleasant. It was a chaotic world where people feared people with superpowers. I love that we saw that. There was one reality like that, but also that these worlds are disappearing. With the pure antimatter. The antimatter is pretty much destroying worlds. And the Flash is able to see certain worlds are like literally dying off. And also the other thing that made this movie interesting is the introduction to Anti-Monitor and Spectrum. Even though they were briefly introduced in this movie, right along with one other character, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys because if you haven't seen the movie, it may take away from it. But I did like the introduction of these characters as well. Now let's talk about what I did not like about this movie. Um, Before that, I just forgot to mention one thing. I was not expecting this movie to be a romance movie about Flash and Iris West. That was very unexpected. But you know what? It kind of worked out because we saw the stages of how they met. They were dating, they end up getting married, they end up growing old together, and then they end up pretty much being together to the very end until one of them ends up dying. I don't want to say who though. But let's talk about what I did not like about this movie. So the first thing was the most logical thing. Supergirl. I felt like Supergirl, they threw her in this movie. We didn't get enough of why she became this other alternate being in this movie. And that was very confusing. I was like, when did she get this other ability or just another identity? I was like mind blown. I was like, y'all just said no, we gonna throw her in the movie. Y'all gonna learn about her probably in the next two movies. Very poor uses of Supergirl. That's just my honest take on it. I was like, we don't know the aftermath of why she's here and why she's recruiting other superheroes from other Earths. So that was a very confusing concept behind it. The other problem with this movie is pretty much I felt like this should have been a longer movie. It was like 90 minutes. I felt like this movie should have been an hour and 30 minutes, maybe an hour and 40 minutes to kind of like go into more detail about what's taking place. We all know that these Earths are dying off and the Flash is trying to prevent that from happening. We do see the failures. I do love that. We see the failures and the successes of some Earths being saved, some are not being saved due to the Flash. The other problem I have with this movie is the connection to Justice League War World. I also did a review on that. I'll leave that in the pinned comment so you can check it out. There was a scene in this movie, and I'm like, so how does this connect to this? You know, and I get it because this is the Tomorrowverse. I was kind of like, y'all not connecting the dots like it should be. And the ending was pretty much the beginning. Yeah. Where we see the Flash pretty much hearing someone say it's like a voice, like an older Flash. Very interesting they went that direction, but I also can't forget the cliffhanger with Supergirl too. It wasn't enough explored with Supergirl. I felt like her character could have did a little bit more with her. I was like, we got her here and there in this movie, but not enough to kind of like give you the overall aftermath, what took place for her to become this other being. But let's get into the review. So the review for me, this is a hard B minus. Yes, a hard B minus from Il Blurmatic. There were problems with this movie. I mean, and like I said, I think the movie was good, but I felt like this should have been a bit longer. But you guys tell me in the comments, have you seen Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths? Are you looking forward to checking it out? But thank you so much for commenting, liking, subscribing, fully watching the video, and also sharing. Have a wonderful day, guys. I'm out.